Once you've completed input of the materials into Red Rhino, it's necessary to go to the recap. So I always like to click Save before I do what's called Leave the Neighborhood here. I'm going to leave the takeoff page. I'll click the back button. When I click the back button, it takes me back to the estimate page, shows the section at the top, the estimate details here. I'm going to go up to the top and click Recap. And when I do, it displays the recap here. Now the recap is a summary of the estimate. Right now I'm just going to show an overview of the recap. This is a summary of the estimate. Up in the top, in the header, is where you set your overhead and profit percent, or your markup. You type in your tax percent, etc., and your crew composite rate at the top here. Now I won't go over that now, but I'm just kind of giving an overview. I like to say that the recap talks to you. The recap talks to you and it tells you how much material you have in the project. In this example, notice that my total material cost is $2,938. When I look down here at labor, it shows crew labor hours. Now it's important to know this. We're going to come back and maybe make some edits on this later, but I'm showing, or I should say the recap is showing that there's 98.41 hours in the estimate. Okay, this is important information. I'll show you how to analyze that in a little bit. I'll scroll down a little bit further here. Notice that the program shows the total labor dollars, and down here it shows expenses and subcontracts. I'm going to show how to enter these using clicking on these underlined links here. I'll show you how to enter your expenses and subcontracts in a bit. Now notice that the program shows that the prime cost, the total project now, just the way the estimate sits, is $9,089. And then when I scroll down to the bottom, it shows the total price. The price of this currently is $11,497. Now, that's how you look at the recap. That's just an overview of the recap. In a couple minutes now, or in a later session here, I'm going to show you how to do some analysis and make some changes. I'm going to explain how to add other expenses into the recap here. Now, notice that there's an underlined number, or underlined numbers down the total column here. There's an underlined 0 here, and to the left of it, it says other material cost. What it means basically, or what it is, or its function is I can click on that and I can add other materials if I just want to plug them in real quick. Now in this example, notice how to the right of quoted material including tax, I'm going to click on this link. It shows $24.78. And when I click on it, it opens up here. Now, I already input this before I recorded this. I input $2,300. I was pretending that I got a fixture quote from my wholesale vendor, and I input $2,300 in here to add the quote. Now, I'm going to click Save and Close here. That's how I saved it. Notice it displays a price here, $24.78. It added tax to the materials that I added and displays the number of quoted material, including tax. Now if I scroll down a little bit here, you'll notice there's something else underlined here. There's other labor hours. If you're doing your estimate, you just want to plug other labor hours into this, and in a few minutes I might show you how to do that, but you just click on it and add the hours. Now what I am going to show you here is how to add expenses. If you scroll down here and look at expenses to the left, you click on the underlined 0. If you haven't inputting anything yet, it is a 0, so I click on the underlined 0. It displays a list of expenses here. Now they run off the recording screen here, but I'm just going to pretend, here I'll scroll down so you can see it. I'm just going to pretend, or I'm going to input some numbers for permit fees. Let's say it cost me $350 for permits. When you input the expenses, the program adds them to the estimate. So I click Save and Close. When I do, notice that the program added $350 for expenses. Now in expenses you plug in items like equipment rental. Maybe you rent a trencher, or you need fuel for the trencher, or you rent lifting equipment, man lift, scissors lift, scaffolds. Any rental equipment or expenses that you have, you plug them in here to make sure they're covered in your estimate. Also for subcontracts, if you happen to subcontract somebody to do some concrete work and you have to include that in your price, you'd plug it in right here under subcontracts. I won't show you how, but you can just click in that and play with it and see how it works. So that's how you add other expenses into the recap. Now the way that you set up your markup for your project is you go in here and edit the header. In order to do so, I'll just go up and click Edit Header here. Now, let me explain something. Red Rhino will mark up everything in your entire estimate. It marks up all of your materials, all of your labor expense, all of your other expenses like quoted materials or expenses. So when you input, say, $250 for permit fees, the program's going to mark that up based on what you input here in your header. Now, I can't tell you a set amount that people mark projects up, but I'm going to show you how to use the header here. So what you do is you set your markup whatever you want, however you want. In this case, I'm going to mark it up my overhead 20%, leave the profit at 10, and I'm going to say that I pay 8 3/4% taxes. So I'll change that to 8.75. Now it's going to add 8 3/4% to all the material costs here. Now, crew composite rate. In order to figure out your crew composite rate, it's very important to understand this. I'm going to set it at $40. Now, I'm using this just as an example for you to find out exactly what crew composite rate is and how it works. You need to go to the help feature here. When you go into help, you'll go into the recap help and you'll look for crew composite rate, and it tells you how to calculate this. There's several examples in there. It's very important to know that. Now, when you set your crew composite rate at something, say $40, the program then is going to add it up, or I should say it's going to add to it 20% markup and 10% profit based on the settings I have here. Okay? Now, I won't explain general foreman rate right now and superintendent rate. In residential, I almost never use those, so I won't explain it right here. But just click Save Header. And when you do, it recalculates the totals here that's shown at the bottom. Okay? Now, that's how you set your header or you set your markup in the recap. I want to explain one thing further. Again, I mentioned that the program's going to take the crew rate that you set here times the overhead and profit. Now, the crew composite rate is considered your average cost of labor per man per hour. Again, read in the help feature how that works. But I'm just going to show you an example of what the program's doing here. Since I have my crew rate set at $40, the program marks it up 20% overhead and 10% profit. I'm going to whip out my calculator here. I'm going to put 40 in my calculator and take that times 1.2%, which is 120%. See what I'm doing? I'm multiplying my crew rate times 1.2 or 120%. So I'll take it times 1.2. It equals a certain amount. And then I'll take that number times 1.1. Here, let me highlight it correctly here, which is 110%. So I'll take that times 1.1. My calculator shows me that I'm actually, with the markup, I'm charging $52.80 an hour per man. Okay? So that's how it works with the Edit Header feature. The recap shows how many hours are in an estimate. I'm going to scroll down up here a little bit. Notice that the total labor hours here shows 98 hours. Okay? Now it's important to do a labor analysis on all your estimates. And here's how you do it. I like to figure out how many days it takes to do this job. So I'll take my calculator and put in 98 and divide by 8. In other words, 8 hours in a day. So 98 divided by 8 is just over 12 days. So in this estimate, I have just over 12 man days. Now, if I had 2 guys working on this job, of course, it would be 6 days for 2 guys. Now, let's say that I look at that, I see through the job, I think about it, and I want to add labor hours. I don't think I have enough labor hours. Let's say I want to add 2 man days, or 16 hours to the estimate. Now, I'll scroll up to the top. You need to be aware of the fact that the crew composite rate, we reset that to $40 per hour. So the way that you add labor hours, just plug them in real quickly, is over on the left there's a description of a line here called Other Labor Hours. I go over to the zeros, click on it, it opens up a window. Now I'm going to go in and change this labor rate first thing to $40 because that's how my recap is set up. So I'll change it to 40. Okay, and I'm going to change the description here, just labor adder. That's telling myself I'm adding labor hours. Now I'm clicking into the hours category here. I type in 16. I wanted to add 2 guys 1 day, which is 16 hours. When I save and close, I'll scroll down here. Here we go. We'll scroll down a little bit. Notice now there's 114.41 hours. So I just effectively added 16 hours to this estimate. And so that's how you do a labor analysis. Sometimes they get a lot more involved with a lot more hours, but you still need to take a look at it. Take a look at how many man days are in the job, how many crew days are in the job. Add labor if you need to. When you've completed all of your input into the recap and into the estimate, then it's necessary to do a profit analysis. So Red Rhino shows you how much profit you have in your estimate. Keep in mind again, the example we're using in the header up here is we set the markup, the overhead markup at 20% and 10% profit. So the program added 20 and 10 on top of everything, or all the costs I should say. When I scroll down, the program shows the prime cost here. Displayed in this estimate is $10,623. Now below that you can see the different categories where it marked it up. You see that the material and labor and overhead percent is marked up 20%, the quotes overhead 20%, etc. Now take a close look at this on your own estimates. It's important to understand it. But here's the point I wanted to make. Notice it shows the total overhead and profit here is $3,399. Okay? Now that's the total overhead and profit, or that's the total markup. Another way to say it, that's what's in it for you. When you bid the job, if you bring the job in on budget, which is $10,623 as shown in your prime cost, then that's how much profit is in it for you and your company. Now here's how you analyze that a little bit. Notice, or let me say, if you'll recall, I analyzed the labor and I determined that I had a total of 12 man days in this, or 2 guys working on it, I had 6 man days. But then I went back and added another man day. So to analyze this, or just to expound upon what I'm trying to say, in this estimate, basically there's 7 days of work. There's 2 guys that will be on the job for 7 days. Well, there's $3,399 worth of profit. Now I'm going to get out my calculator. I'm going to type in the $3,399, and I'm going to divide that by the number of days that my crew will be there, which is 7. So when I hit the equal sign, I see my calculator says or shows me that I make $485.50, or I should say $485.57 per day that my crew is working on this job. So that's how you do a profit analysis. It's very important to let the recap do its thing and talk to you about things, and then do a further analysis to determine what's in it for you. So that's how you do the profit analysis. A great feature about the recap is it allows you to change your markup. Now let me show you what I mean. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, and notice the sell price, or the total price, is currently $14,023. I want to make that less than $14,000, or in the high 13,000s. So to do so, I simply scroll up to the top, click Edit Header. Now I'm just going to drop a percent or so off of my markup here, so that I can drop the price below 14,000. I'm going to change this 10 to a 9%. When I do, I'll click Save Header. It'll save. Now when I scroll down here, notice that now the price is under $14,000, $13,895. Okay? So that's how you can use the recap. You can go into the top, drill into the header, change your markup, and maybe drop your price down below an even 1,000 or even 100. So that strategy is called less than $1. If you're at 14,000 and you want to go below 14,000, again, you just change your markup maybe 1% or so, and it'll change the total price. So that's how you can use the recap to be more competitive.